I think it was weak. I mean, not weak. I think it was a weaker episode. But like, there are other episodes that were better, and I don't think the finale was the strongest episode, which is sad because it should be. It should be one of the stronger
They
ones.
had giraffes. Like,
They
come
had
on.
giraffes. Why were they there? Why were there giraffes? I don't understand.
Why were the giraffes eaten? Yeah, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Easy targets, right? I don't know. Hey, how's it going? My name's Tanya.
My name's Olivia.
And we're Fangirl Feels. We meet and talk about content that we love and content that causes us to have lots of feelings.
Oh yeah, all the feels. It could be books, shows, movies, music?
Music.
No. Music, maybe. Video
Sometimes.
games.
And games, yeah. Games, if we were playing some game. But speaking of games, The Last of Us, huh?
Wow, great transition. That's incredible. But games, back in my day, games were not like this. Games were like Mario, not like the most emotionally compelling story I've ever heard in my life.
Right, yeah. Like cinematography in a game, that wasn't the case.
No.
So I'm sure everyone was watching either the Oscars and The Last of Us, or or they switched over like we did, and we'll probably watch some of the Oscars later, who knows. But we wanted to give our initial thoughts after seeing the episode. It just aired like less than an hour ago, and Olivia and I are going to talk about it now. So I wrote down my thoughts as I was watching it. I just like kind of wrote like bullet points of like what I was thinking as I was watching it. And I'll just go down the list. Damn it, Ellie, you dropped the ladder. Couldn't believe she did that. I was like, wow, really? She's being so nice to you. Come on. Why don't humans ride giraffes? Truly, like, why haven't we domesticated them to live with humans? Yeah.
Fair. I have thoughts on the giraffes. I have thoughts.
Oh, okay. Time heals all wounds. It wasn't time that did it. It was so sad. It's so cute and sad. It was so many emotions.
Punch a wall.
So cute.
It's so adorable.
Happiness is fleeting in this universe with the flash bomb. Like, there's only 2 seconds of happiness, and we know this. And I'm still surprised. Yeah. Every time I'm like, oh.
Point. It was like we got like a whiff. It was like, I'm parched for happiness.
Yes.
Take it away.
Then all downhill.
Yeah.
Joel doesn't want peace, he wants problems. Always. That's Joel. Morals out the door every time we see the show. Rooting him on. Get him. You got this. People who could save the world, kill him. Let's go.
No notes.
No notes. Perfect. Perfection.
No notes. Perfection.
And then at the end, a rift. It's clear there's a rift. She knows he was lying. And yeah, those are my thoughts. What about you?
Oh, those are good thoughts. My first thought is too short, in all caps. Started crying at the first scene immediately. I don't even know why. I was just like immediately sobbing. I was like, we barely started. Like, why am I crying? Like, what's happening? I thought the whole like Ellie's mom was just incredible. A really cool storyline. And that's the actress that plays Ellie in the video game. So that's like kind of a cool circle moment. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's like the voice actress of Ellie. So it's kind of a cool circle moment. Yeah, I also had Joel admitting he tried to kill himself. That whole thing, punch a wall.
Yeah.
A very emotional setting. And then the Ellie's like her being clearly traumatized from the last episode, like all the things that occurred. I appreciated seeing that, and it's like so sad. Like the entire time that he was trying to like cheer her up, and it's like the most open we've seen him, and she is just like not in a place to receive it.
Yeah,
it's like it breaks my heart until they were, and then like you said, flash bomb. Like we never get anything good.
Mm-mm.
I am Team Joel unapologetic. Well, I can't say that word. Unapologetically.
Yeah.
No notes. Support massacre. Support murder. No, I don't. No notes. Yeah. But I think my first initial impressions are just too short. But I think, yeah, no notes with Joel. However, I understand why Ellie will be upset. But we can get into more of my thoughts around his decision because I have thoughts around it.
That
But
was
those are just
actually my next question for us to talk about is what were your
okay.
thoughts? Because I also have thoughts too. I think they might align based off what you've written here. What
Yeah.
do you think Joel should have done?
I mean, I agree with his decision. Like, no notes. Like, no, keep saying that. I like if you did you watch like the end, like the making of the episode, like they're when they
Mhm.
talk, the creators talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think it was like Neil Druckmann or maybe it was Craig Mazin, I'm not sure which one, who was like, this is the easiest decision he's ever made. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, no questions asked that he would make that decision. And I don't disagree with the decision. Do I agree with the massacre part of it? I mean, no, I could have done some different things, but like,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with the decision to go in there, like at all.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
very similarly on that. That like if you were to put yourself in their shoes, like they've been through a 20 plus year pandemic, or yeah, pandemic, right? Is that what you call what's
Yeah.
happening? Zombie apocalypse, all morals go out the door, right? You turn into a different person. He misses his daughter, like the one thing that was like keeping him going for a long time, and now Ellie is this like analogous to his daughter, so I can understand like his feelings. And I talked to my brother after too, and he has a daughter, and he's like, obviously morally we wouldn't go and massacre a bunch of people, especially people who are going to potentially save the world. It's a selfish decision, but if that was my daughter, yeah, I would go Keanu Reeves on everyone.
Yeah,
Immediately.
I'm
um
sure.
but I agree with you that like what should have happened was the Firefly should have asked Ellie. Everyone should have asked Ellie what was her choice, and that should have been
Yes.
the decision. And she might have chosen that way, but like, what was the rush? What were we
Yeah.
rushing for?
That is yeah, you read my notes. It's like that was a thing. It was like I'm sympathetic to Ellie and I understand why she is upset. Like, and she will be upset when she finds out the truth, because I'm assuming she will at some point. But like,
Yeah,
why did they ask? Like, there's a specific moment where Marlene is like, we didn't even tell her. She's just going into surgery. She's going to sleep. And I think that wasn't intentional. Like, why would they say that otherwise? Like, why would
yeah,
they write that in the script? And to me, that is like the significant defining detail of like why I don't disagree with Joel. Because it's like, you didn't even ask her. You're just assuming that she would say yes. And maybe she would, but you're not even giving her the choice. If they didn't give her the choice, and then yeah, Joel, I guess, didn't give her the choice, but he didn't have a chance to give her the choice. Like, they were
yeah.
going to kill her.
They didn't give
So
him a choice either. Yeah, in like
no,
the process, like someone who he's built trust with, Ellie. He's gonna obviously not be okay with it.
yeah, they took the choice away from both. Like, they didn't care. And it's like that decision is like immediately undermines the entire experiment. And when she was like, explaining like, oh, they think that it's like this will happen. I don't even know. Like, what did they say that like the cordyceps thinks that she's cordyceps, so if they like take out the fungus and like whatever they do, whatever science, that it will maybe, they kept using those words like think and maybe. I'm like, this is not good enough.
Yeah,
Like, it's not good enough.
yeah. We
It's
need
not
we need consent here.
yeah, you saying think and maybe, these are not good enough reasons. I understand it's not like a normal world, but you're just too scared to ask her, and that's not a good enough reason.
It's not. And I understand, again, like it's like putting yourself in the shoes of people who are like trying to solve a world pandemic after a zombie apocalypse. And I can understand. I can put myself in their shoes, but then like I can also put myself in Joel's shoes who shoots them, So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And
um
especially like seeing him, like we both of us mentioned, like the whole that time wasn't what did it. Like seeing those moments before that, it's like, can you imagine being him and being like, I've opened my heart back up to this girl. Like,
yeah.
I've like allowed myself to love someone again like a daughter. And like literally 10 minutes later, whatever time, it's like he's facing her death again. Like, it's just
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like, there's no doubt about
Yeah.
it that he would
The
stop
perfect
it.
storm for that to
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you've been scrolling Twitter too. One of my favorite tweets that I've seen so far is this whole episode has the trolley problem, and Joel is the conductor who turns the train towards killing the people and saves Ellie. It's just very spot on.
It is, but I don't blame him.
Yeah.
It's like in that situation, this is like not a normal situation too. It's like, yeah, post-apocalyptic world. There's so many unknowns and this is the only thing that he knows that he can do. So how could you possibly blame him or even disagree with him for doing what he did? I don't know. I just don't.
Right. You can, yeah, definitely understand and agree with what he did.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I like what you also wrote, like, they did a good job of showing Joel's decision was selfish. Like, the fact that he lied to her, you know what I mean? That on top of, like, what he did, he lied to her, and she could probably tell. That was another level of, like, deceit that you know is going to show up in the subsequent seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, because, you know, I knew that this ending was coming. Like, because I'd seen the game. And I think that the show did a better job of showing that, yeah, he was selfish with this. I think partially because of, like, him talking to her about, like, how he's opened up again, and, like, his relationship with her has helped heal the pain that he's had.
Yeah.
And, like, and there's a little bit too of, because he's just trying to cheer her up and isn't exactly understanding necessarily what she's going through. It is selfish that ultimately he makes this decision, like, to save her when she would have wanted it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, it is selfish, but again, I don't disagree.
Right. It makes sense.
It makes sense. No notes, although we had a lot of notes.
Lots of notes, but yeah, awesome. So the next topic was just the breakdown of the season, our thoughts from beginning to end. I was curious, what were your initial expectations for the TV show adaptation?
I don't know. I didn't know the game until the show started. I'd heard of the game because I was on Tumblr in, like, 2013, and that's when the game came out. But I didn't have any expectations. Well, if I'm thinking of, like, when I saw a trailer, I just thought it was going to be like a basic apocalypse show. I was a little bit intrigued, but I didn't think much of it. And then it wasn't until you guys said you were going to watch it that I decided to watch it. I think, like, in our Slack channel is what motivated me to watch it. So I don't know. Not many expectations. It exceeded them.
I'm in a similar boat. I didn't know much about it. I had just, like, heard of it, that it was, like, a great game. Like, I'm sure you're on Reddit as well. I just see people posting about it, but I didn't know specifics. And, like, I've been a fan of Pedro for a while, and so I knew that he was going to be in this adaptation, but I didn't know what that meant. I was like, it's probably going to be stellar because he's in it. I already know. Everything he touches turns to gold.
True.
But, like, I'm sure you had similar hesitations too, probably, that, like, anything adaptations can be so hit or miss. Like, I think they've done previous, like, game adaptations, I think, with, like, Final Fantasy, and it's, like, been terrible, so bad.
Really?
Yeah. And then you see book
didn't know that.
adaptations that aren't great as TV shows or movies, and so I was just worried. But, like, I think maybe because our initial expectations were, we didn't know a lot about the game, maybe our expectations are higher than what someone who knows the game might have said. I don't know. I would want to know what, like, the community's saying who actually plays the game. But the fact that they were so inclusive of the game, the original game, like, crew, like, the cast, like, that is incredible, and I'm sure they're appreciative of that.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign, or, like, that's a good lesson for other people doing adaptations. Like, the fact that they included the original actors, the cast, like you said, crew, whoever was involved, I think is important. Like, I'm thinking of the Avatar: The Last Airbender adaptation that's coming up, and the creators have left. I'm like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that one when that comes up, for sure.
We will, yeah. I'm hopeful. I'm genuinely hopeful of that one. This is a side conversation. But, like, yeah, it's not a good sign when the creators are not in it. And this one, it seems like it was a labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it even got us to watch it is impressive, because this is not I didn't have any big emotions towards Pedro Pascal before this show. Now I am number one fan. Sorry, push you away.
No.
I am number one. No, I'm kidding.
We can be a throuple. He can have many wives. We'll do this together.
He has millions at this point.
Yeah.
Not billions.
Teetering on billions.
Yeah. Becoming a problem. Most of them way
yeah.
younger than him.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Even us, he's still what, like, maybe like 15 years older than me, which is, like, doable. Yeah.
It's still, could he be your father still? Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a little more socially acceptable.
Yeah. We got Gen Z beat on this one a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, I'm not an apocalypse show fan. I don't like those types of shows. I don't care about the zombies, just not interested. And this show had little to none, no zombies. So
Yeah.
that got me. That's why I was okay with it overall.
Tasteful zombie. I'm different actually. We differ in this where I really love post-apocalyptic shows, apocalyptic
Yeah.
shows. I don't always love zombie. I love horror. And so I was like skeptical going into this because I'm not always the biggest zombie fan. Like I've seen a couple seasons of The Walking Dead. One of my favorite movies is Train to Busan. If you've seen it, it's like a Korean horror film
No.
about zombies. It's just really well done. And I also don't like blood and gore, which typically comes with zombie movies. So I went into it like skeptical, like the apocalypse stuff could get me in, but then I think they did it so tastefully. The zombies and the blood, like you could shut your eyes if you wanted, you didn't want to see it. And it was like, I feel like it wasn't done as like a jump scare. You know, typically it is where they're turning a corner, there's zombies. It was done every time you saw a zombie, I feel like it made sense in like the plot, and like then the actions afterwards made sense. And I think they did a really good job with that storytelling.
I agree. It was more realistic. Like I appreciated I think there was like a scene, one of the earlier episodes where like Joel and Ellie they're like camping. It's like one of their first moments together. And Ellie's like, "Oh, are there infected out here?" And he's like, "No, it's like too remote for infected." I'm like, that's so interesting. The world it helps like build that world. Or that makes total sense. They're not like traversing the entire United States. They're like
Yeah.
in centrally located areas, like where there were cities. That makes total sense. Like I appreciated, and then that's why we didn't see them there, and why they weren't a huge part of those like parts of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think those were like interesting. So when they did show up, it kind of mattered more rather than them just being everywhere all the time, which they
Right.
didn't
Just
need to
like
be.
yeah, like everything's a haunted house, you know.
Yeah, it's like unnecessary. Do I think that this show could have used even for me? I'm like, the show probably could have used a little bit more like
Yeah.
zombies, but it wasn't the reason why. It's not the point of the
Yeah.
show, like at all. So it was okay for me.
It was so funny. And the next thing I actually want to talk about is like our thoughts on specific episodes. And it was so funny that you mentioned that because some people really didn't like the episode with what's his name? Ron Swanson. I forget what's the actor's name.
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman,
Yeah.
because there were no zombies, and I was like, come on, the storytelling was great. But anyways,
Yeah.
I just wanted to start from the top of the season. What were your favorite episodes? What were your least favorite episodes, and why?
I think my favorites. I think I have two that are like competing. I think episode 5. Yeah, episode 5, the one where they meet David and Henry. David? No. Sam and Henry. That's the name. Yeah, David's a different guy. David's not a good guy. Sam and Henry. That one. And that was like the most infected we actually see. I'm like a walking contradiction. I'm saying I don't like the zombies, and yet my favorite episode's like the most zombie heavy.
It was the heaviest. I was gonna say opposite. That was my favorite episode because of like all the horror and gore and everything about. But go on, sorry.
Maybe I don't know what I like. That might be it. But then also episode 8. That one was really good. Will I ever watch half of either of those episodes again? Probably not. But
yeah,
those are great. Those are I think my favorite. What about you?
And for context, episode 8 was the one where Joel says, "Baby girl."
Yes. No notes. I mean, that episode was one of the more intense episodes too. And I liked that the danger was not zombies. It was a white man.
Wow. Can relate.
It was just really well done. Like I was terrifying in every way.
Yeah.
Red flags immediately when he showed up. Just terrifying.
You knew something was wrong. For me, I agree that my favorite episode as well was the Endure and Survive. Just the whole story arc of Sam, what did we say already? Sam and David?
Sam and Henry.
Sam and Henry.
David is the bad guy in episode
Right.
8. Which we don't want to confuse them.
That's true. What if we went through with it and people were like, what are you talking about?
David! the predator cannibal racist.
Yeah,
Like,
my favorite!
God, horrible. Horrible.
Episode 5, Endure and Survive, again, was also my favorite, I think for similar reasons that, like, the storytelling was just great. You fell in love with these characters, and something I appreciated about these directors was that they really got you to believe these bonds. Like, obviously between Ellie and Joel, but then, like, these two random characters that we just met, Sam and Henry, I wanted to see them throughout their lifetime, and we technically did. We technically did, but I wanted to keep following them. I thought it was great. And then obviously, like, the horror at the end, the zombie parts of it, I really appreciated. I was like on the edge of my seat, like, this is awesome. They just kept coming out and like, let's keep going. Yeah, that was probably one of my favorites. And then number 6, where they go to Wyoming and go to the commune. And I thought that episode was great because you could put yourselves in the shoes of people in an apocalypse and think, that's where I'd want to live. Like, James and I, my partner, we were talking about, like, if there was an apocalypse, we're going west and building a commune. We're going to have horses. It's going to be great. We're going to become communists and also cowboys at the same time. It's going to be exactly what we do, and, like, grow vegetables and stuff. That's where you'd want to be. I like how they, the juxtaposition of, like, the city where there's tall buildings and skyscrapers, which I feel like is a common scene. You've seen other, like, apocalypse movies, right? Like with, like, Maze Runner, like in a city. I feel like that's a common scene, but it's like, okay, what are people doing, like, out in Wyoming? And they're building ranches essentially. So that's what I liked about that. And meeting his brother when he yelled at Tommy. The best. It was so loud. I was like, James, I was like, whoa.
Have you seen the TikToks where it's like all of those, like, Tommy, help me?
No, I haven't seen that.
There's, like, a whole series of TikToks where it's like all the, like, yelling phrases that people have said. Half of them being Joel, like, Tommy, help me. Which is so sad. But I agree. I like that episode a lot. I think it goes back to, like, the earlier point of, like, what would it look like outside of those, like, metropolitan areas where, like, the zombies aren't there because they're zombies and they're not traveling that far. And apparently, fun fact about that episode is that Jackson, Wyoming is apparently the most, like, it's like the wealthiest city in the US. And it is like, I heard this is actually, I think I learned on Twitter. So there's, like, an irony to this where it's the wealthiest city in the US, and the fact that in the show after the apocalypse it becomes like a commune is a commentary to, like, the fact that this right now currently this place is like it is being gentrified, or not gentrified, I don't know if that's the right word, but to the point where it's unaffordable for people who live there because it's becoming so expensive because a lot of wealthy people have moved out there. So it's just an irony of that, of like, oh, in the apocalypse, all of these expensive, wealthy winter homes or summer homes, whatever they are, have become part of a communist commune.
And the pendulum swung from capitalism to communism.
It was like an interesting. That's not something, I don't think that was obvious, but that's after reading some commentary or seeing, like, a video, I was like, oh, that's really, really interesting.
I didn't know that. I just know they shot in Alberta near, like, Banff, Canada, and the only thing I was thinking is my friend accidentally walked on set because she lives there. She accidentally, like, walked on set. They weren't shooting that day, and she's like, what's going on? And then later she finds out it was The Last of Us, and I'm like, oh, what a dream. What a dream.
She should have been in it. Like,
I know. What if we see her, like, in the back in one of these seasons?
Hey guys. Dude, absolutely. Like, why not? I think they get paid to be extras too.
What a dream. We got to try one of these days.
Move to Alberta. Obviously.
All right. So, Olivia, what episodes did you not like?
So my least favorite, it sounds bad. Like, I think looking back, we talked about the Bill and Frank episode being not a weak episode, but maybe just it struggled narratively in the sense to connect to the rest of the story. I mean, I think the results of the Bill and Frank episode really speak to why Joel makes the final decision or helps us on that walk. So I think that's like my second least favorite looking back at it. I actually think my least favorite now is the Ellie and Riley episode. Because at least with the Bill and Frank episode, we saw Joel and Ellie in the beginning, and then we go to the Bill and Frank stuff and then go back to them. So we see kind of like how it's like a puzzle piece in that larger story.
Right.
It's after me like reflecting it. But with the Ellie and Riley episode, nothing happens besides like Joel tells Ellie to leave after he gets stabbed, and then Ellie doesn't leave. And then we know why. We learn why because of her like story with Riley, her best friend / crush. Like, but nothing happens narratively in that story. And especially when it becomes like you're in episode, what was it, 7? Episode 7 of a 9-episode season. I'm like on fumes. I'm just like, give me anything. I just want to see that. Like, we're at the last bit of this story and I just want to like be with our main characters. And so I think it was just tough near the end of the season to like divert so much, even though we were with Ellie, like, which is probably one of its like most redeeming factors that it did that. But otherwise, like, it's not a bad, I didn't hate the episode by any means. I thought it was still a good episode, like as an episode in itself. But I think just like structurally within a 9-episode season where we're like, and like the season finale was too short. Like, why was that episode longer than the season finale? Like, I just should not have been. Why was the Bill and Frank episode longer than the season finale? Like, while it was a beautiful episode, don't get me wrong, like, why was it longer than the finale? Like, it just should not have been. So I think the
finale was like 40 minutes. That's insane. Yeah, I don't understand.
Flew by. I blinked and we were in and out of it, and I'm like, this is the like climax of the like emotional weight of like, we've been waiting so long to get here, and it just flew by. Like, we didn't. And I honestly, I think it was weak. I mean, not weak. I think it was a weaker episode. But like, there are other episodes that were better, and I don't think the finale was the strongest episode, which is sad because it should be. It should be one of the stronger ones.
It had giraffes. Like,
they had giraffes. Why were they there? Why were there giraffes? I don't understand.
Why were the giraffes eaten? Yeah, I'm confused. Easy targets, right? I don't know.
It's true. Why didn't someone shoot them? I don't know. I don't know why there were giraffes. I have questions about the giraffes. I think that's from the game. It is from the game.
That's what I heard.
Why are there giraffes? I'm not sure. But I think like if we had more time, then I would have no complaints about the Bill and Frank episode and the Ellie and Riley episode 7 and episode 3. Would have no complaints. I think it would be fine. But because we had so little time, like, why did we divert so much so much time away from our main characters? Those are my only complaints.
I have very similar thoughts. I wish those episodes had more of the current plot, the through line plot in them. Like the visually that episode with Riley was very beautiful. Like, you could imagine yourself there, and it kind of reminded me of Stranger Things too. It was a little bit nostalgic. Even though their nostalgia was like from our lived lifetime, which is funny.
It's true.
But I think actually my least favorite was episode 4 when they crash the truck and they end up in that city, and there's that like vindictive rebel leader. I forget her name. My critique of that is that not a lot happened in that episode, even though they were building you up to get to know Sam and what's his name? Sam and
Henry.
Sam and Henry. They were building you up to get to know Sam and Henry. And you kind of need those filler episodes that get you from point A to point B. But I wish they spent more time talking about the politics between like Fedra and the Fireflies. I feel like that's a huge part of the game that I don't have a good grasp on. I like initially in that episode, I didn't actually understand like the dynamics happening. I didn't know who she was a leader of. And it wasn't until I watched like the post episode discussion where they talked about like the reason they chose, you know, the actors and like what happened in that episode, and like after like in history after like a revolution or rebellion, you know, the government steps in, and once the government's taken over, oftentimes like that the up and coming leaders aren't great either. And that's what they were
Yeah.
trying to represent. And I don't know if I got that. I just wish they spent a little bit more time discussing the politics of the nation now that like is non-existent, you know? And
That's
like,
a great point. Yeah.
yeah. How did you feel? Did you feel similarly? Did you understand like, yeah, all those dynamics?
I did not. I didn't even really think about it. I think like I'm so focused on Joel and Ellie because it's like I'm like a one-track mind. It's like all I care about. That I'm like anything that diverts from that, I'm like I'm upset. That's all I care about.
I hate it.
But I hate it. I don't want to look at it. Can't see it. But I agree. I totally agree. I think that completely they didn't follow through with that at all. Like the Fedra Firefly storyline kind of completely dissolved by the finale. Like we don't hear anything about it. Like it never really comes up again. So that's a great point. And I agree, like I liked that episode because again, Joel and Ellie, we get their time together, which I appreciate. But I think spending too much time with Kathleen was weird. Like, why did she have to have like a 2-episode arc?
Yeah.
In the same way that like I struggled with the other episodes where we divert. At least those were only 1 episodes. Why did she have a 2-episode arc? Yeah, I don't understand.
I agree. I don't think she needed it. And I will say I love that actress. I do. She's in Yellow Jackets. I forget what again, it's coming out, and if you haven't seen it, it's really good. She's really great in that, but I just think that she was maybe miscast here. And I understand what they were trying to do. They're trying to get someone who's like more like maybe science-based and like is almost like a teacher, but like isn't like a brute who you would think like physically is a brute. I get what they were trying to do with the casting. I wonder if she was a miscast. But I still love her. I don't want any hate towards her. I know she got some hate on Twitter for a second. Yeah. And still love her.
Yeah. Cut out some of the Kathleen stuff. Shorten some of those other episodes.
Yeah.
Pacing is, I think, the show's weakest.
Yeah. Right. That's a good critique. Yeah. I think so. I'm curious how... I wonder if, like, directors take, like, notes from, like, the first season, analyze it, and then, like, pivot the next season. We'll see. More Pedro killing people. Our morals are out the door, so we're okay with it. More murder, more of him just walking, 10 out of 10, less random offshoot episodes, yes.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, seeing him, like, torture people in the last episode, and then this, just, like, this is the most violent episode, and they, like, really got close up on, like, those bullet holes, and I'm like, I would actually close my eyes. Every time he would make a shot, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really aggressive. I'm like, I'm on your side, dude, but like, I gotta watch like this.
Right. Go, maybe.
Go,
okay. Well.
No. This is terrible. When he shoots the doctor, like with that, he doesn't even look at him. I don't know if you saw that, like when he like is like unhook her, and the doctor's like, I'm not gonna let you take her, and he just like isn't even looking, and he shoots, and I'm like, oh my God, like, awful, horrible,
Daddy.
I was like, whoa. Like, just kidding. I love you, but like, tone it down a notch a little bit.
Chill out.
Chill out slightly. Like, you're up here at a 10, come down to like an 8. Like,
like keep going, but like,
go down slightly. Yeah, that was. He was just like, the violence was unreal.
Yeah, too much.
A little too much, but it was great.
Yeah. The one thing we wanted to mention too was that the directors were incredible. We thought they did a great job with this season, and the creators, specifically Craig Mazin, he was also the creator of Chernobyl. And I watched that series. It was a mini series, and it was really eerily similar in the sense of the direction and the directing style, and like the lighting, dark, right, mysterious. And I think he does such a great job of making you feel like something's wrong at all times. And it's clear in like this universe at The Last of Us, like there's zombies, right? Something could like happen to you, but like Chernobyl was a real thing that happened in real life. And I feel like if anyone else had done it, it might have felt like almost like a documentary. It was obviously like a really traumatic thing that happened to a lot of people, but I think he did a good job of making you fall in love with characters who were real people during that time, which he then did with Ellie and Joel. And he's just good at duos. I think he's good at like having you put yourself in people's shoes. And I feel like that's hard to do. And we talk about something all the time of like, when we analyze content, people tend to just say what's happening. And you actually said it best.
Yeah, there's like a few books that we've read I'm not going to name the books right now, where they just tell us like what's happening or what someone's feeling and not necessarily like show us what they're feeling. Like I need to understand, or it needs to be explained in a way that I can follow along with the emotions of like how these characters or these relationships are developed. And yeah, I agree. I think I haven't watched Chernobyl, but he did a great job of doing that, of like connect. And then I think also how these like side characters, or we get like Bill and Frank, and we get Ellie and Riley, and I'm gonna mess up their names again, Henry and Sam, like these side stories. But then we get attached to them, but then we also see how they like their stories relate to the larger narrative. I think that's like really tough to do, to like create these side stories and then bring them back to like help us follow along with like why, and ultimately Joel makes that final decision. Like each of those stories played a part, and you can look back at it now and be like, oh, that makes total sense. But in the moment you're kind of like, okay, I don't know what's going on, like whatever.
Yeah.
You still care. But yeah, I think that is very well crafted, those that like timeline, those stories.
It's art. The way it's obviously art, but like I was thinking like could I do this? No, I'd have to go to their level of schooling, whatever they did. But I'm like, that is incredible. I don't know if I'd make the same decisions. Like, so it's really cool to see how he's able to do this over and over again.
Yeah, I would watch Chernobyl. I'm not a big fan, like I said, of, I mean, I guess it's not apocalypse show, but I don't love those types of shows. But clearly he's a talented director. Clearly. Or is he a director? Is that what he would be?
I was looking it up because I thought he might help direct, but there was like a specific director who's not him, but he was like a co-creator, so he must have overseen everything, right? Help with like the overall direction, and he was the creator of Chernobyl. So I know you watched the cinematic like overview of what happens in the game. What are your thoughts for season 2? So I'm going into it blind. I don't like to be told spoilers, so I'm expecting the best. Obviously, like I want to know what happens. They always have me at the edge of my seat. And obviously with like the lies Joel tells Ellie, I'm curious how that'll end up.
Pedro. Not him.
Not Pedro. Pedro's not a murderer. I'm curious what your thoughts are, and like what are you excited for?
So I haven't watched the cinematic playthrough of the second show or video game, but I do know what happens to some extent. And so I won't spoil. We're opposites in this, where you don't like spoilers. I am like, I emotionally can't take it. I need to know what happens so I can if I can be emotionally invested. And I am, yeah, without any spoilers, I'm excited and nervous and unsure what will happen, but excited. I'm like happy with how this ended, and I think I accept it as is. So we'll see what happens. People who know what happens in the second game will understand how I feel, I think.
Would you want to give a shout out to your art and things you've been doing with the series as you've been watching it?
Yes. Oh, that's so nice. Yes, I love drawing. Drawing is like my form of like emotion. It's how I vent towards the things I love so much, and the stories I love so much. So I've drawn a lot of art for this series, and mainly just Joel and Ellie, because that's the reason why I like the show, is their relationship and their journey. So I've drawn a lot of that art. You can see it on my Instagram at Viva, VVIVAA, which 19-year-old me, I wish I could go back and tell her to not use that handle, but that's just life. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. And like, it inspires me to want to like write a story of such similar magnitude, like that is so well done and so complex. And like, I love that the ending is so like controversial. I don't know if it's controversial necessarily, but I like that it opens up a discussion. I don't think it like ends in like a solid place, and I really enjoy that, as much as I also hate it. I enjoy it, like it's like you're conflicted, but I love it. It's great.
That's awesome. And what about your Patreon?
Oh yes, if you want access to my art, you're so kind for like,
of course,
this. Like, so shout out. No, thank you. Yeah, if you want access to my art and want to see exclusive get exclusive downloads and other art that's not available, check out my Patreon. It's also at Viva. on patreon.com. The links will be somewhere, wherever they are in this.
Somewhere, yeah.
Somewhere in this scenario.
I can attest I have some of Olivia's art, and it's 10 out of 10. It's actually right next to my desk, and yeah, I'll probably buy whatever poster you make of Pedro in the future.
Oh, thank you. I would love to. I want to make all his. I'm like getting embarrassed. I'm like, I should stop drawing him, but also I can't.
Don't stop.
Him.
Yeah,
I can't
never stop.
It's so weird. I love his nose. I like love it so much. I love drawing his nose. It's so much fun. It's such a unique shape. I'm like, this is weird, but I love it.
It is unique. It's like a defining facet of his face, along with his mustache. You know, his nose.
Yes,
and his eyes.
And just, his eyes like have a unique. It's like I love it. I don't know. It's like so unique and it's so much fun to draw. I'm like, this is weird, but I'm obsessed. So great.
Not to brag, but I've been a fan of Pedro for a while. And I love him. He's great. I first loved him as the Viper in Game of Thrones, and I followed him to Narcos, which is one of my favorite eras of him and his mustache. Very good.
His mustache's eras?
Yes. It's been different. So as the Viper, he had like a very thin mustache, and I actually wasn't a fan of that. Okay. I actually wasn't like super attracted to him physically, more so personality-wise. The Narcos, solid, 10 out of 10, great. I think he's a little bit of a womanizer in that show. And then Mandalorian, can't even see him. No mustache, right? But yeah, Joel might be the best mustache era for him. And plus the Carhartt jacket and like the older man vibes. So good.
It works for him, which is like weird. It makes me, did you see, I sent you a TikTok that was like, fully adult brain, frontal lobe, fully developed. When I saw this picture,
yes,
like a picture of like Pedro. I'm like, I think this is what's happening. Like, fully adult brain, fully developed at this point. Yeah, the older vibe is working for him with like a little bit of like salt and pepper. It's working great.
Yeah,
chef's kiss,
and his voice. Yeah,
his voice. Really great. I mean, and then his like normal self, like that new episode of Hot Ones, amazing. No notes. He looks great. His hair, luscious, incredible.
And he's funny. So good.
And he's like respectful. Yeah, it's like the whole package. Like he's good look. I think this is a great example. It's not that he's not looking, but I was not a Pedro Pascal fangirl previous to this. But seeing like I don't know how I became one. I think I just thought he looked good in The Last of Us. But then like now his personality, and then you're like, oh, personality does matter.
Right.
It does.
Who knew? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? So then now it's like my brain transformed and fully developed. Yeah. My frontal lobe fully developed. And now I'm like, I see this. I was blind and now I see.
And now I see.
Now I see. I see it, and I'm ashamed I didn't see it before. It wasn't like I didn't think he was attractive. I just didn't really think about him at all.
Yeah.
And now, number one fan.
Yeah. It's so cool to see, like, he's like literally like a global phenomenon right now. And it's just so awesome. Like, he's obviously been working for a while in Hollywood, and now he's like getting his roses, you know, he's getting like the recognition he deserves, you know, being on Hot Ones, he's the host of SNL, and it's just cool to see someone like, and he seems so grateful and like humble, and I think that's a part of it, is like, if he was like, okay, not to compare celebrities, but like, have you seen Austin Butler's interviews and his photos?
Yeah.
And it's just very bizarre, and if you compare the two to each other, like, he does seem a little conceited, Austin Butler, and in comparison, like, Pedro Pascal seems more genuine.
Yeah, I think it's like, I saw someone like ask him, like, how does it feel to get so like your fame like later in life? And not that he hasn't been like famous for years, but you're right. Like, this is his like breakout moment, I think, where he hasn't necessarily had that. And I think he's just like, I don't forget what he said, honestly. He was just like, I'm grateful. And I think there's something too, maybe that him getting it later in life that has kept him humble. But he's just a lovely guy, I think.
Yeah.
He's just a good guy. And I think it's like a good lesson to everyone too. Like, oh, just there's no age limit to success. Not that he's old. He's not decrepit or anything. But he's in his late 40s. And I'm so happy he finally got his moment. You know, it can happen at any time.
That's true. You know what? That's a good point because like I feel like I'm in my 30s now, unfortunately, and you're almost 30.
Almost.
Almost
Almost.
less than a month. And
Less than a month.
one thing we talk about is like as we grew up like in our 20s, we just assumed every celebrity was younger than us. Or sorry, was older than us. We just
Yeah.
assume like you know, every celebrity that comes out is new or older. And but then as you age, the newer celebrities are younger, you know, the media tends to like hyper focus on youth, unfortunately.
Yeah. Being
And so
younger.
like, you know, as we grew up, we're like, oh, like Cardi B's younger than I am. Oh my goodness. And all these stars are younger.
Crazy.
And
Zendaya
so, right, yeah. And
is
it's just
younger.
crazy to think about like that we're older, you know, we could like mentor humans. But it's
Yeah.
cool to see him like as an older person, like, and everyone loving him, and his age doesn't matter. It's been a good like reset, like mental shift in how we like analyze celebrities, people who are like widely seen and widely observed.
I agree. Absolutely. It's refreshing. It's really refreshing. I mean, like, it makes me feel better as we get older to be like, yeah, the best could be yet to come, you know? Like, you don't know what could happen. It's like a nice little lesson. It's like, wow, your best could be yet to come, and you don't expire at any age, and in fact, you could be hotter than ever at a certain age because
Yeah.
he did get better with age.
Yeah, he's aged well, like fine
Yes,
wine. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention is just like I think Bella Ramsey has done a phenomenal job too. I think she's
that's
an
true.
incredible actress. I've only known her from like two things, like Game of Thrones, and then she's the voice of the show I really love called Hilda. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
You got to watch that. So you're gonna love it. It's like everything I feel
Okay.
like you love, like like
Okay.
magic and
I'm in.
fantasy. Yeah. Um, so
There I go.
I was skeptical though because I knew she had an accent. For some reason, I was like, I don't know if she can pull it up, and I think she did a great job.
Yeah, I agree. We should have talked more about her because she's great. Her performance has been incredible. I didn't know she had an accent either. I think from Game of Thrones, I realized that, but and she only had a small part in Game of Thrones. She was like Lady Mormont.
Yeah,
She was such a baby when she played that. But no, she was incredible, incredible actress. That last episode, the one where she fights the cannibal predator, David, who we now know is named David,
yes,
was
David.
yeah, David. Her acting was fantastic, like next level good. Some of the noises she made, like the screams, were terrible, was awful, but just incredible acting. Like, yeah, she deserves just as much credit as Pedro Pascal. I don't know. I'd heard that there was critique of her casting because she doesn't look a lot like the video game version of Ellie, who is a little bit more like, I don't know, just like stereotypical like white girl attractive. Whereas like Bella Ramsey has like a different look to her. Like she's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but she doesn't look exactly like the character.
Yeah,
Um, but I think she proved it out of the park. Amazing, incredible.
yeah,
No, no,
yeah. She like fully encompassed like the character and her personality, and not so
yeah,
much the look. Yeah, that's a good point.
which is more important anyway. And like, who cares what she looks like? She looks amazing, and she played an amazing. She handled the role really well,
Right.
and that's all that matters. Like, what else
I
is there?
agree. And like to a
Yeah.
degree, like Joel doesn't really look like Pedro at all. They kind of morphed him too, but he's like, what? He's a Chilean American. Like he
It's
he doesn't
true.
look like what Joel is supposed to look like.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I agree. Like he looks great. I've seen pictures of because I watched the video game and watched like a cinematic playthrough of the video game, and I'm like because I flipped it because I've watched the show before I watched the game. I'm like I don't like these. I don't like the way they look. Like I like Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal
Yeah.
better. Like, so I'm sure if I'd watched the game first, I would feel opposite. You know, it's understandable that people would be protective of the visuals that they saw originally,
Yeah.
but I think they look amazing. I think amazing looks,
Yeah.
acting, incredible. Well, thanks for joining us in this episode of Fangirl Feels. We're gonna do more of these. I don't know what we'll talk about next. Maybe a book, the Inheritance Games. Maybe we'll see. We have a lot of thoughts on that series. But if you want to hear more from us about our fields, follow us. Follow us here wherever you watch this. Follow it wherever you are. on any channel. It could be on my personal YouTube channel. It could be on Tanya's personal YouTube channel. What's your YouTube? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do.
Oh, you?
I forget what like my ad is, but it'll be in the bio, or you might be watching it right now. So we haven't thought that part through. That's okay.
No, we're new to this, but we will figure it out. It will be all the links will be down below. Follow us if you want to see more. Let us know what else you want to see, what other things you want us to review. If you want us to talk more about The Last of Us, I mean, I feel like we could talk more about it. I got a lot of things. Anyway, well, thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back.
Thanks for watching. Woo! Hopefully there's music.
Bye.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. Bye.
I have some music.